Thank you very much. Thank you, ARCHICAD and GRAPHISOFT, for flying me in here from Copenhagen. You cannot believe how proud I am to be here in company with all of you guys, all you good guys. I'm going to talk about how it is important that when we do good projects, we do them together. This first slide I've got here is back home from the office, and it's actually showing one of my most important colleagues. And no, it's not the lady in black, that's Helle, she's one of the founding partners. No, it's the little dog in the middle. She's called Chili. And Chili is very important for us because every time we get a guest at the office, Chili is the first one greeting them. And she breaks the ice. So when somebody comes into our office, they are relaxing more. And it's easier to talk about whatever we need to talk about. Up here is our 4 partners and our 4 associate partners. And I am the one down in the right-hand corner. I'm responsible for developing our digital workflows, and that also makes me a head of BIM. I would like to tell a little bit about myself, so you have that in the back of your head when I'm giving the rest of the presentation. I used to be a carpenter, and that gave me some experience from the construction side. So I won't say I can build anything, but I get a feeling of how it is on a construction site. And when my niece gave up on that, I studied as a civil engineer. But not just any type of civil engineer. In Denmark, you could become civil engineer specialized in architecture and design. So that makes me neither an architect nor an engineer. So I'm standing somewhere in the middle of that triangle, and I find that it's a very, very nice spot to be in because I know the languages from many different parties. At JUUL Architects, we do buildings. We do residential buildings, office buildings, schools. We do urban planning and landscape projects. And we also do, we also do research projects. And actually we try to incorporate the research into every project we make. And one other thing that we feel is special for us, that's our cross-disciplinary team. And it's not just, we need an architect, an engineer, and who else do we need? No, we have, amongst those normal, we also have a philosopher at our company. And he is so important because he asks different questions. He sees things differently than we do, and he makes us think in new patterns. And based on our different research projects, we have this working methodology which we put down onto every project, whether it's a small project or a large project. We make sure that in every project we look at it from the city scale, from the neighborhood scale, from the individual space. For each project, we monitor the added value we put into or think we put into the project, or how we want to prioritize between different fields of added value, because you cannot have everything at the same time every time. And then we use different optics in the project. We use a city optic and we use a space optic. I don't think that's different from what many of you do. But we also look at what we call life shaping, the lives that's going to be lived in the projects we're working with. And we also look at how we possibly can affect the bodies of those people living, working, staying in the spaces we design. And to be able to have this in every project, we've figured out that having a BIM approach to the projects helps us a lot, because then we can get our feedback from the projects easier. And I would say that we do BIM in the city, we do BIM in the landscape, we do BIM in the building. And I would say for JUUL Architect, BIM is in the heart of every project. And for us, people is in the heart of BIM in the projects. When we do the projects, people is in the heart, then it's ourselves internally in the project. And when the project is finished, then it's the people staying there being the heart of the project. So, I would like to share a story with you. Me and my family, we live in some small row houses in Copenhagen. We live 5 people in 100 square meters. And you might think that's a little, but it's actually children's families' ghetto. So it's very easy to just let our kids out and they go find their friends, and we make new friends. And one of these friends, one of my neighbors, he's a medical doctor. And our children are the same age, so quite often we help each other, picking up each other's kids from school, and quite often we eat together at night. And when the children has eaten and they are left the table, and we sit back, we pop another beer and put our feet up and talk about everything we've been experiencing in the days. And my neighbor, he's a medical doctor. His day job is standing at the head end of people being very sick. And he is looking right into their open chests. And I think he has a cool job. He's saving lives every day. And I've been quite impressed with that. So this one night I told him, he's called André. André, I think you've got the coolest job of the two of us. I think you're making the biggest difference. And I think I said that because that day I'm talking about, I'd been to a construction site and I had a huge argument with one of our builders who wanted to do one of the details differently, and he couldn't see the consequences from the entire project. And I was just like, why are we having these discussions? So for me that was irrelevant at that time. And then André, he said to me, Morten, when I come to the patient, him as a doctor, a process has begun in their bodies, and all he can do is he can delay that process. Sometimes he can delay it with years, and other times it's just a matter of minutes. And then he looked to me and said, Morten, you on the other hand, you have the important job of us, because you're shaping the spaces, the areas where people are going to live. You're making the frames for where they can be healthy if we do it in the right way. You're making spaces where people are being educated so that they're not going to be sick. So that's important. And he kind of took me by surprise, and I said, oh yeah, that's right. That was actually why I joined this industry. That was because you can make a difference. And he made me remember that is why I go to work every day. That is because I want to make a difference for people. And then I started thinking, why is it so difficult? And I realized that for every project, they're becoming so complex. You need to look at sustainability. You need to look at indoor environment. You need to look at the structure, the HVAC, and the architecture, of course. And so many different specialities are needed in every project. And this thing that everybody is talking different languages. And I think that is sort of like the story about the Tower of Babel once again. But we are in our time so lucky that we know about dictionaries, so we can translate. The only ones we can't translate are those people talking in code language, and they can have a club for themselves and have their dark side. But those dictionaries, they need to be open. And that is why we need open BIM, open standards. Okay, very fast. We do BIM in the city. The project on the left hand is one of the very first projects we did in BIM, actually part of why we chose to go the BIM road. We were chosen to validate a project made of Daniel Liebeskind in Copenhagen. The other one is a master plan we did on the basis of a Frank Gehry project. And the reason I'm showing this is that to be able to do BIM in the city, we need to think as the tool differently. For example, we will use, we do not have a story tool, so we're using slabs to model stories. And it gives us the advantage that we have modeled the geometry, and from that geometry we very fast can have simple quantities. That's not new for any of you, so I'll just go fast through that. I want to use a little bit of time talking about the old airbase just north of Copenhagen. This is a landscape project. We started by winning the building project and persuaded the client that we should also do the landscape project. Let's go here. So you see there are 3 clusters of row houses on the north, and there's 1 cluster down to the south. So we started by doing landscape in the northern part, then we got the southern part, and then our client thought we did so well that they gave us the middle part as well. For this project we have, beside the building file, we have 3 landscapes projects in the same file. I'll just show you a short video. Actually, we were given the task to keep all the soil in the same plot, and we had 8,000 cubic meters of soil, and we modeled them in ARCHICAD. And when we came out there, we could see these huge excavators just digging based on our geometry. The contractor took our model into the machine, and I think it's so fascinating. Actually, they also told us that this is not a new technology. They have been able to do this for the last 10 or 15 years. They just didn't have any geometry to put into their machines. We started by, we were given the amount of subsoil from the client, so we modeled that and made sure that we only used what we were given of subsoil. And throughout the phase, the contractor figured out that there are more soil than they had known in the early beginning, so we had to do another check. But because we had it modeled, it was easy to make sure that we didn't use too much. And actually, the difference from the ARCHICAD model to the real world is only 200 cubic meters. And you think perhaps 200 cubic meters, maybe it's quite a lot, but when you compare it to the 8,000, and you think about that soil, when you dig it up, it gets loosened and you cannot figure out how compressed it is. We think that a margin of 2% in this scenario is actually quite good. This project is my pet project. It is the project where we were awarded the Building Smart Award. It's the best building process I've ever experienced. And I think partly due to the client. The client very fast decided that this project should be an all-the-way BIM project from beginning to handover. That was one thing. The other thing was that he made it as a partnering project. And to begin the partnering project, he gathered all stakeholders. Not just the bosses of the companies, but also the guys doing the modeling. So we did on the second day, we did a BIM seminar, testing and trying and learning to know each other. For this project, we used as architects, we used ARCHICAD. We had Revit in the project, MagicCAD, AutoCAD, MEP, Tekla. We used Solibri to combine the federated model. We learned that you can get very many issues in a Solibri model. But if you take them out into a really huge Excel spreadsheet and you start sorting them, then you can very fast, you can get them put down to, we gave each consultant, got 10 issues they had to fix to the next time, and they had to do them through over the project. So the amount of issues, they just went down really fast. I want to show you this video. It's made by BIM Equity and Solibri. And in the video, you should notice this guy Ulf Venlöf. He is the contractor, the client on the project.
When we design, it's not only architecture as a building, it's this total frame which is actually make the project for us. It's landscape, it's urban discussions, and of course our design of an architectural frame.
The NOVA project has for us been a relatively complex project.
Yeah,
and therefore it has been an advantage to being able to do our own quality assurance with the Solibri model checker.
You know, I've been in this building industry since 1976, and this is the smoothest process I've ever seen.
Smoothest
I like
process.
the open space. I love how much air it's in here. I like the bright lights, the big windows, and the atmosphere.
For us, it's very important that we can work out a project from Copenhagen abroad. From the architectural scheme to realization is happening through this BIM facilities, but running the whole project from Copenhagen.
Actually, it's the first time I've seen the MEP technicians use the Solibri model on site. By coordinating the models in Solibri, we got a better quality check all through the process.
So for us, using a BIM process gives us the advantage that we have a digital model containing the informations for the building process. It makes it easier for us to collaborate internally, but having the model, we can share the model with other consultants on the same project, as well as we can have their models into our project.
Ulf, he saved 3 months of planning time for installations. This guy, he's been planning building projects since '76, and he saved 3 months of planning time. 1 million Swedish kroners. Looking a little bit into the future. We think that we're looking at a future. I thought it was a future with a hard hat hot display, but I could see that now it is something you're doing in the East, at least having HoloLenses on the construction site. I think it's straightforward. I think we'll see logistical robots moving materials on site. I think we'll see cranes being automatically moving things, or drones moving things on site. And that had us asking, how will this affect us as architects? And I think it will affect us in the way that we just need to do better models, because the models are the basis for the other technologies. And that's why we've begun to look into linked data to represent the models. Time really runs fast. Thank you for listening.